All right, boys and girls, we should be going live. Showing green. I'm getting the live notice. Welcome. I hear the ding. Can you guys hear me? Make sure we can get this started. It's been a few days. Rocking some new wares. You guys asked for the Crypto Kitties shirt, and Miss BBT came through. She's not here yet. She'll be here in a little bit. So actually, I think I hear her walking in now. So she'll be joining us here in a second. I got BBT Steve over here tonight helping out. Going to be answering some questions. So tonight, not a lot with the builds. I want to do builds for you guys. I have a few of the old mining cards. We're going to go through that. I'm going back out of town on Friday, so we're going to try to do a video stream on Wednesday and Thursday. I'm going to try to have 2 more streams for you guys. I do want to do that kind of what's the current cards that you can get your hands on that are cheap, and how do they perform, what are some of the settings. So we're going to do this a little differently with that build. We're going to build out of cradle to grave. Now I know some people are like, oh my god, I'm going to fall asleep to it, but there are so many questions and so many new people. I want to go through. We're going to just build an OS. We're going to go through and configure it, set the drivers up, and get the older cards to kind of work on, the actual system. So that includes like the R9 series, and then using, BIOS editor on that. You can do that from a modification on the power to save some. There's not a lot of documentation out there on the web around that. A lot of it's around 2013, 2014. So I think giving you guys some updated info on how to do that on some of the older cards, if you have an opportunity to get older cards such as the R9, 380, 380Xs, 290, 290Xs, 390, 390Xs, those type of cards, which are pretty cheap right now. If you have a good power situation, those cards actually perform very well, and there are ways to modify those BIOSes on the actual power tables to save you some power. So I think bringing that to you guys will help. And then there's some newer cards, and there's been a few different videos out there with using like the 550s, the 560s from the AMD side, and then even some of the newer, lower end like 1050 non-TIs, that kind of stuff, having those cards as options if you guys cannot find anything that's priced reasonable. With the market pullback, we're going to talk about that tonight. And just kind of, I've gotten amazing amounts of email. Like, I think we're almost at 80,000 emails now unread. Like, it's crazy. When I did that Robinhood video about a week and a half ago, I was at about 68,000 unread, and I mean, it's went up like 12,000 emails. So it's just a flood of people wanting to know what's going on with the market pullback. It's been slowly going down since essentially January 6th. It's been, essentially contracting. Almost now we're about 60% on Bitcoin since I think the 1 month high, or a month from now, or from essentially the beginning of January to now. So having a discussion about that tonight, kind of looking at some, just looking at all the market indicators out there. I'm not a trade analyst, analyst in any capacity, or a licensed broker. However, I do read a lot of information, and I do try to do some kind of corollary, why is the market doing what it's doing, and then what are some of the opportunity costs, of being able to maybe make a good buy, looking at the constriction that's going on right now. And any information you get from me tonight is essentially just kind of some of the moves that I've been making. And what I'll do is I'll show you guys. I'm committed to it too. On I picked up some cheap coins right now. Bought all 4 types. Oh no, there are 3 types. I kind of tend to stay away from Bitcoin Cash, but Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum essentially on Coinbase, and then I've made a lot of cross trades with some of that Bitcoin into other currencies, just because there's some pretty good discounted deals right now on these currencies, and there is an amazing amount of work that's forthcoming in this space. So coming from the 2 actual conferences I was just at in the last month, and hearing and seeing the growth that's coming with this market, any kind of pullback right now, part of what I'm here for the 233 folks that are online right now is to just look from our mind's eye and viewpoint of being in the space since 2010 and seeing several of these pullbacks before, that this too shall pass, type of thing. The entire use case in crypto in general, nothing's changed, guys. Nothing changed since December. That was mission critical on this entire space. So there's been a lot of forward movement into the market, into market penetration with people that can get some liquidity in there with regards to banks, and then the banks changing some of the rules where you can't use your credit card. That's a thing right now between at least JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America announcing that recently. Then you have a situation where you have the SEC right now, and we have that. Let's bring that up real quick. For the folks that are not tracking this, we'll bring it up right here. Bloomberg did this article. I know most of you guys that do follow this has this. Essentially, this is tomorrow. So you have the U.S. regulator subpoenaing the crypto exchange Bitfinex and Tether. You also have the SEC meeting. I actually tweeted this. The actual latest article on this under our Twitter right here, where I was kind of trolling the internet on some of their, here, let's see here, under, that one is under actually my tweets and replies, not that one. Filling at Twitter right now. Hold on. Right here. So this is the other big one right now. This is February 6th at 10 a.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. This is tomorrow. And this is essentially the oversight role of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and the CTFC are going to be sitting down in an open session tomorrow at 10 a.m. So there's a couple chairmen that are going to be discussing. Essentially, they're going to be called out. It's a hearing. Guys, if anybody's ever had any fun experience with the law in general, a hearing is essentially just some question and answer situation where they're going to be getting more situational awareness on it. What I'm looking for in this meeting is the tone of it. With you having a Dow market pullback today, and essentially for the last 2 days, a pretty heavy pullback in the Dow, and then you have a massively heavy pullback in the crypto space in general, there's a lot of liquidity being pulled out, and there's a lot of cash on hand somewhere, right, from a lot of different people. So essentially it's a matter of when do you get back in. Weekends pulling out, it's still falling. Those weekends, if you pulled out last week and it was $7,900, $8,000, right now you can buy back in pretty cheap, and you're gonna gain some more Bitcoin, you're gonna gain some more Ethereum right now because the market's still pulled back some. So when we start to have that kind of bull rush back in versus that bear market, there's going to be a lot more coming back into this, and I think it's tonal based on this hearing. I think it's tonal based on what comes out of it. Also, part of this hearing is not just the CFTC, it's going to be the Bitfinex and the Tether discussion. If they come back out and say, here's what is going on, and we've given them 90 days to prove that they're liquid with Tether, these kind of things are good. We got to hear these things. Everybody's been taking shots at Bitfinex with saying, hey, you got rid of your auditors, what's going on? People want to know, what the scenario, what's going on with this stuff. So this is good behavior of what's going on right now. You have a pullback. You have a pullback in the Dow. There's a lot of cash out there, and it's going to go somewhere. So getting any kind of feedback from these hearings, I think, is good. I think as long as, if they're looking at the ICOs and how to regulate some of that, and they're, stealing people's money, essentially, finding out here's how you play ball if you're going to be creating an ICO in these different markets, especially in the U.S., obviously, or U.S. citizens that are pouring a lot of money into this. These are both good things. So at least from a protection part of it. So you look at this pullback, you look at the Dow, and I think you're going to have some pretty good activity in the next coming days. I'm looking at it for myself, and this is just me. This isn't me telling you what's going to happen. This is me saying that looking at over since I've been following crypto space since 2010, there's never been this much activity in the space ever. Like, we're at all-time highs of activity, of awareness, of investment. There's just too much going on right now to even probably make this a pullback down to 90%, right? So it's a 60% pullback as of today, right? When it hit like $6,900 briefly, we're at almost a 60% pullback. So I believe it all got pushed back till February 14th. I haven't seen that it got pushed back till February 14th. I just pulled this up. I see that you brought this up. This is on their piece here. Let's see if we can confirm this. Let's go back out here. I'm going to switch back and we're going to do some Googling to see if they pushed that meeting back. Now, who knows? The government's, I don't know if they're still posed to shut down right now or not. But let's see here. They have, I have not seen the 14th. Here, let's bring this up. So we have oversight. There's the location of it. This is from today. I have not seen that they're moving it to the 14th. There may be another meeting moved to the 14th, but at least on the critical websites that should show it is showing it on tomorrow at 10 a.m. I don't see any Feb 14th here either. We're at 6,300 right now, so we got still a steady market pullback right now. I think the floor, by at least, I'm not a trade analyst, but the floor I've seen is 5K from folks. But I think there are a lot of people are selling the news right now, are going to buy the event. I mean, that's where it feels like it's going to be happening. Yeah, there's still, I don't see anybody. I had challenged, somebody had said that it was going to be that it got moved, but I did not see any change on that, guys. So if somebody's got the link, let's see here, commodity reschedule to public headquarters, I see that. I'm going to Google that, because everybody else's website, including the CFTC's piece here. So the CFTC rescheduled to February. Okay, so so that is so it looks like the pullback continues. I mean, all I got to say right there is, so thank you for that. Thank you for that update. I could not find it anywhere else on the web. Ironically, the one place that it should be is the people that are at the hearing being asked from the SEC, which is the CFTC. They would be the ones that would tell you when the actual hearing would be rescheduled. So that makes absolute sense that it's on their website. But that, look at that time. So this is one heck of a meeting, guys. This is a 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. meeting, and they're going to talk these different. This is the scope. So the scope, plan, and approach in efforts in 2018, right? So you got that. You got wait a minute, is this the SEC meeting? This might be just the... This, I think, might be something else, guys. This isn't the SEC. This is just the General Trade Advisory Committee. This is the CFTC's Trade Advisory Committee. I don't think this is the one, because the SEC is the one that asked for a meeting. This might be something else. So bottom line, we'll find out tomorrow. I'm kind of hoping they just get it going and get it out there. this might be a follow-up meeting using the Technology Advisory Committee, and they have it pretty open, because looking at this, they don't say anything about what the SEC was asking them to do. This is regulated markets, including blockchain and DLT, standard analytics, algorithmic trading, work streams. Yeah, this is a general meeting. This isn't the SEC meeting. And they probably rescheduled that because they have to go talk to the SEC. So, SEC hearing. On cryptocurrency. And that's 7 hours ago. Guys, this I think this thing's still on. I think the meeting that you guys are referring to there on that link is a general technical advisory meeting that happens to do with blockchain. So this I think is going to be the tone of this meeting. Well, the whole point of what I'm trying to talk about here is the tone of something like this hearing is going to set the course for what the risk analysis that people that listen to what is being said, extrapolate that, and then we'll make calls on that information. So you're going to have TAs out there listening to this, and you're going to have people that control a lot of different liquidity, from if it's big banks, if it's any of this, that are going to make moves based on this information. So I think a lot of people in this kind of scenario, a lot of people have been selling the news, doing the flip. You know, usually you buy the news, you sell the event. That's usually what happens. I think what's been going on is a lot of the opposite. You have a lot of positive news coming down the pipe when it comes to more participation into cryptocurrencies, more facilitation of being able to get more liquidity into the system. You got BitterX talking about taking USD, so then you can kind of go around having to go through Coinbase. You also have Robinhood with that. Robinhood has its pluses and minuses, because you have a situation where you can't right now, from the initial look of the Robinhood app, is that you can purchase cryptocurrencies if you're in those 5 states that they list. As they onboard more states, that's great for the U.S., but if they onboard other countries in the next, coming months, if you can't move your crypto in and out of it, it kind of makes it kind of like this weird, somebody else is holding your crypto. So if anything more than just trading, if you want to trade on the volatility of cryptocurrencies, that's really kind of what I think Robinhood will end up becoming, is that if you want to be in and out really quick, back to a bank and have a whole bunch of tactical snapshots, maybe that's a thing. But having places where you can pull crypto into from fiat, and then being able to pull it into you have your own keys, is a critical requirement, especially if you have new people wanting to get in and just hold their cryptocurrency. Those events are occurring. Those are things that we talked about a month ago, right after the CES 2018, and I was having the cryptocurrency kind of State of the Union with you guys and saying that this technology, this infrastructure is coming. And that's what was being announced at those events, and you're seeing it start to come through right now. You had Coinbase come out today and say that they're finally looking to implement, I don't know why it took them so long, but they're working now as one of their priorities to get Segwit addresses set up for Coinbase. That's a big deal, especially if you're paying high fees right now with Coinbase. So you're having the right motions set the infrastructure in play. If crypto, you have all these doom and gloom people out there of like, oh my God, it's fallen, it's fallen. If you've never been in this space, or you're new to it and you're not used to like a 60% pullback, then you're gonna freak out. I get it. But looking at the infrastructure that's getting put in place, I'm here to just tell you, like, from a information only viewpoint, right? There's a lot of activity creating the substructures that are required to operate at a very high scale. Because right now we all know that the scale is not there when you really think about it. Every time as this price was going up in October, how many times did people try to get in and or even sell if there was even a little pullback, right? Because we were popping up against all-time highs, and every time the exchanges, Coinbase, everybody's just not working, right? Everything's just crashing. You can't get in. at those real hypercritical times where it's just super apparent that, okay, I'm going to sell right now because we're bouncing off of all-time highs. It looks like it's doing a little pullback. I'm going to sell. I'm going to buy back in, right? And every time you wanted to buy in or you wanted to sell at the times that everything felt comfortable, and there was like a symbiotic, everybody was like, oh, I need to go out there and do this. You couldn't, because the infrastructure just couldn't handle it. Or at least that's what we were all told, right? So now you have all this activity getting into place where you have a lot more players coming into it, and you have a lot more structure coming in, right? You have, there's an ACT event coming up. That's where the government, the U.S. government, and large corporate entities that are working on blockchain tech, cryptocurrency tech. There's a big event coming up in April. That's like April 6th in DC. There's no reason why these entities are not going to get there and sit down with each other to help continue to make sure the regulations in check, make sure the tax ordinance side of it's in check, make sure that there's, you know, eventually lightning channels that are going to make sense when it comes to the bar tab type of transactions. There's a lot of infrastructure getting worked in place to facilitate that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I know this is a kind of offset from our normal, like, tech build stuff, and I want to get back to that. We're going to do that. Tomorrow night's going to happen, but Wednesday and Thursday, I'm doing a couple quick live streams back into tech too. But I need to, you know, I feel like looking at all the Twitter and stuff, you guys need to hear these things that are coming down the pipe. To have that confidence, if you're holding right now and you're freaking sweating your butt off, like what the hell's going on, that this infrastructure doesn't get put in place when there's a crashing market. There is an infinite amount of reasons of why people will sell. Personally, they may just need it. They may have been holding this whole time thinking, oh my God, 20K. And it started slipping and they're like, I should have sold at 20K because I was going to pay something off or I was going to do something with that. And now it's really pulled back. And now they've waited now almost 2 months and it's really pulled back. And now they're in this weird critical situation where they've kind of needed to probably sell in December to pay something off. And now they're in this kind of weird point that they're debating to take that like 60% loss. And what I'm saying is if there's any possible way for folks to hold, is that's, you know, that's what we're doing. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just telling you these cycles happen in crypto. They've happened over and over, and I understand all the BS about, you know, past performance doesn't gain future bullshit. However, there's too much other counter information. If we just look at the information out there, there's too much other counter information that isn't indicative of the price not ever going back up. It has everything that's telling me from an information wise of just reading between the lines of the infrastructure going in place, the open liquidity lines to allow people to put more fiat into it, the adaptations of some of the later tech coming into this with regards to Lightning really expanding, taxation being looked at, these regulatory meetings being held, you know, in general. It's just everything's screaming that this thing's going to take a lift. And it's not only going to take a lift, it's getting the infrastructure in play to just really take a lift, right? So I wanted to be kind of a calming voice through information to you guys on some of this tonight. The people talking about the mouse pads and yeah, it's funny. We'll talk about that. We'll actually tonight, you know, there's 442 people in here. We will give a couple of these away tonight. So if we sent off mouse pads on our last live stream to people. You know, we get this. Obviously, we'll put these up on our site. We'll probably have them up not this week, probably next week. I'm still going to give some of these away, and if you guys drink coffee, this is kind of like a silver thing. So, you know, I'm just trying to give you guys some level of calm with regards to just the stuff that's coming through. And I mean, I don't know if I had a few more. Just breaking the ice. Richard Porter with a 25 spot. Coming in strong. He's a strong supporter. Richard's got his mouse pad on his way. And for that 25 spot, we'll be hooking you up with a cup too, buddy.
He's got a lanyard in his bag too.
Yeah, we did give Richard a lanyard. He's a long subscriber and supporter. The mouse pad's pretty cool too. It's kind of got a little sparkle. Yeah, I got one right here. I pulled it over. So we do have little Bits Be Trippin' lanyards for those folks that have to wear lanyards all the time. I try to get a few of the little swaggy things, you know. Only 64 likes. Yeah, the double XLs. That's right. And when I get back, I'm literally going out of town on Friday. I'll be gone until Wednesday. You guys will get probably a few things out there from me when I'm out of town. But and I got BBT Steve here. I've been kind of getting set up with some of the premiere stuff. I'm trying to show him, like, going through, and we're going to be putting out some episodal videos and just trying to get him up to speed. We haven't put out anything in about 5 days, and we're just getting folks spun up on how to really put together some clean video structure. So, how's that cheap China? Has it burned out yet? Devil versus Angel. Yes, it actually blew up. That Panyo 2400 watt finally died. So how long did that last? That lasted, it's the 5th of February. We got that on, I want to say, you guys could go back and look at the timestamps. I want to say September. And it finally died. It's dead.
But you switched it around and moved it in lots of different places. And
yeah, there's a good chance that I actually killed that 2400 watt China power supply. And what I'm going to tell you is we have the 30 amp connection in the back here. When you order those from Panyo, if you're ordering them directly on the 24 watt, you have to specify that you want it to be 220 compliant. I didn't know that. And there might have been a split second that it was plugged into 220 and made a very large pop sound. And it recovered. It popped its little GFI in the back and has a little switch that you can re-pop back in. But it lasted for about another month and a half with about 1,600 watts on it. And it finally died. So probably caused by me. And it died. Are they digging this shirt? This was a bet that I think on the last live stream. So if anybody's wondering why I'm wearing a Crypto Kitty shirt,
it was Twitch's fault.
This was a Twitch thing. We are simulcasting on Twitch right now.
I linked it earlier. It's clear with a less delay on Twitch.
It's clear with a less delay on Twitch?
Shorter distance.
Okay, so we're going to be eventually moving most of the streaming to Twitch, and we'll be uploading the streams, I think, to YouTube for a handful of different reasons. I think Twitch is a little faster. We don't have near as many problems with Twitch, so.
Yeah.
So what's a miner do during the market pullbacks? Yes, when our mining profitability looks dire. So yes, that was part of the discussion tonight. I wanted to kind of give you guys some of the history of why the market's pulling back, at least from our information side. So what does a miner do? So right now we have the mining rigs here and off-site are mining a range of different currencies. We stopped kind of looking at profitability just because, one, it's sad, it makes you want to cry. But you look at those currencies that you believe have the most future. So obviously, a handful of the currencies. I mean, and right now we're mining about 6 different currencies on different rigs. So probably the most hash power right now is going to ETC, and then we have a few rigs on Ethereum. Why we can still mine Ethereum. We'll be mining Ethereum all the way up through hybrid proof of stake, by and large, and then a handful of the NVIDIA rigs we have running on Ravencoin, that is not even on a market right now. Like, you can't, and the reason why I haven't done more detail on Ravencoin is because it doesn't have like an exchange right now. It's not on exchange. It's a very new coin. I saw the presentation for it at North American Bitcoin Conference, and I need to put that video together. Maybe that's one that we can have BBT Steve help me with and get that up. But it's some MIT guys. It's a big open source project. It's 21 billion coins. So it kind of shows the same model as ETN. ETN has 21 billion also, but it's kind of following the same schedule as Bitcoin, where it's like 2.5 years. It halves its distribution. Right now it's 5,000 coins per 1 minute versus the 10 minutes on Bitcoin. So it's all like a times 10 derivative of it, right? So 50,000 coins versus 50 coins on its first sets of distribution. 21 billion coins versus 21 million. And I just like the open source nature of it. I like that it was just kind of started and just, you know, no pre-mine, all that. So we got a couple of NVIDIA rigs mining that. Not a lot. I don't have a ton of power on that, contrary to what some people probably think, because I was kind of shilling it there, I guess, for a little bit in the first few videos. But bottom line, it was just something that we saw at North American Bitcoin Conference, and I wanted to throw some hash to it. And it's still maturing. I don't even think they have an AMD miner yet for it. And then we had a handful of other rigs on XMR. I was mining XMR pretty heavily on a lot of the AMD rigs. We switched it over to XMR. However, the XMR has such there's a huge amount of hash power on it, and you don't get, it's not remotely as profitable unless you're throwing like RX Vegas to it. But just trying to finish out the last few coins on that, and then we'll probably be repointing those AMDs elsewhere. But and then obviously we're still mining Ubik. I'm very long on Ubik. Essentially, it's Ethereum with a roadmap for commercial and large business dApps. So I mean, they have a published report that they put out. I like that development that's behind that. We mine that obviously, and I'm a holder of that. So you know, we've been a pretty long-term holder of that. So bottom line is, you look at a couple different strategies in these kind of scenarios. You can actually, you know, some people that have very high power and that are selling portions of their currency to pay for their power right now are in kind of a bad scenario when you have a market pullback like this, because essentially you're pretty much selling everything almost to stay profitable, or to stay even where you're not just dumping everything directly into your power bill. And in those type of situations, you can, what's up?
You need to scoot like 4 inches to the right. Has anybody told you the bunny ear thing yet?
No.
Turn around. That box fan is right behind you.
Huh?
You've been Playboy Bunny this whole time.
I've been a bunny.
Yeah, see the box fan? It gives you bunny ears right
That's
behind
awesome.
Right there.
I'm getting these weird. Yeah, that's funny.
you. Sorry, I totally interrupted you.
Yeah,
That was funny.
yeah, you guys are killing me here. I cannot keep all. This is why live streams are gold, though. Bunny ears. That's awesome. I didn't even know what I was saying because I was abruptly interrupted here. What was I saying? I lost my entire train of thought because of the bunny ears now. And it kind of goes with this crazy shirt with a hat. I'm reading some of the comments. But yeah, so there's a couple different strategies you can do. There is a ton of different currencies out there. So here's one way you can do it. If you don't have that many mining rigs, or you have a couple cards and you're just like, there's no way I'm ever going to earn a coin with 2 graphics cards, and there's just so much difficulty. What you do is you look at all the different currencies that are out there. Go do some research. I mean, I understand that there's appeal to have somebody to tell you exactly what to do. I understand that. It makes it easy for everybody. What I would say by that is, you ramp up as much hash power as you can. You throw it at some of the biggest currencies because those have the highest amount of, you know, potential return, have some of the highest amount of infrastructure, right? That's what makes sense, right? But if you're only in a situation where you only have a couple cards, and right now I wouldn't recommend buying cards because of the cost of them. They're super, super high right now. So you got to find some deals where it's down, where you can find maybe a company that has been sitting on them for a couple weeks and they've gotten no sells because they've been trying to overcharge for them, and now the prices are starting to peel back. I've seen a few links to show that the market is kind of starting to waver when it comes to graphics card prices. I did see a few links for some 1060s. They were dropped down to $363. That's still a little high. It's about $100 more than what a 1060 should be, but it's not like $650 or whatever it's been. If you can find cards for a pretty decent price, then you can ramp that up. But going back to what the folks with a few little cards, look at the different currencies out there. Like right now, Ravencoin. Ravencoin is an example I was just shilling earlier. And I'm saying shilling because people are going to wear me out about shilling a coin. There's not a ton of difficulty by per capita on it, and you can get a lot of units right now on it. Now, will it ever be worth anything? 21 billion coins. Let's look at the couple 21 billion coin plus out there. You have Dogecoin, which is a total meme. We all know it's a meme. We've all known it's a meme since 2013. You have Dogecoin out there that's peaked at like almost 2 cents for no apparent reason. And you have ETN, which has 21 billion limit. And it's like 5 cents, 5.5 cents right now with this market pullback. It went as high as maybe like 11 cents or 12 cents. I don't even look at the ETN as. So right there, if you're mining something like Raven or you're mining some of these other coins that have, not a ton of not worth a ton, but if you put a moderate amount of hash power on them, because the difficulty's low, you have maybe an opportunity that for some reason, if another team comes in, picks up an existing coin, starts throwing some actual development towards it, you're kind of hedging on that maybe rare bet. It's kind of a shit coin, let's be honest, but all these different coins that are like, if it's not within the top 10, 12 mineable coins, and there's no differentiation out there, or there's no team really trying to move the needle, then essentially it's kind of I'd call it a pump and dump, and maybe you can catch it on a pump if you have like 2 cards or something. But getting your hash power moved to somewhere that allows you to have some kind of unit is a potential thing if you're looking at the short term. Personally, we look at long term, and you should keep that hash power on somewhere that's going to give you a coin that has a decent development team behind it, that you can earn the currency over a long period of time and just hold. I mean, you're essentially made that investment. Williams May coming in with a super chat. Let's say I bought $100 of the Bitcoin at 6K. I sold it at 16. How much would I have made? Thank you, and I love the show. Well, if it went up by $10,000, right? So if you would double your money at 12, right? And then you'd make another 40 bucks or so, right? So what's that, $140? Did I do that math right? So you'd be at 240, 260. Nothing like live stream real time math. So yeah, so if you bought $100 at 6,000 and it went to 12, you just doubled your money, right? But what I've told everybody, a lot of people ask me questions about how to buy cryptocurrency. And what I've told everybody, if you're going to drop in, are you the CEO of CryptoKitty? No. Next question. No. I've always told everybody, and mind you, I'm not a TA or I'm not a financial advisor. However, what's worked for us over the years is dollar cost averaging. Meaning if you're going to put $5,000 into cryptocurrency, don't put it all in at one time. You buy $100 for $100 a week for 50 weeks, right? And you're going to catch the dips, you're going to catch all-time highs, and then another easy strategy is, and people were asking me this in December, it's like, when do I sell? I don't think anybody will ever fault anybody for selling at all-time highs. So if, let's say right now you buy in, and this is just hypothetical, let's say you buy in a couple $100, and it reaches back to all-time highs in May. And you're like, you know what? Is this a good time to sell? I don't think anybody would ever fault anybody at selling at an all-time high, because technically it's never been that high. So when you're selling at obviously not a loss, right? So I think people that took a lot of the profit in December through October, right? So if October it was at 6K and it went to 12K by mid-November, and you're like, what the hell just happened? There was a lot of people that I know that were selling at 12K, right? And then it went to 19 and they were hating themselves. But I'm like, you did not make a bad decision at that time if you needed to sell. If you needed to sell is what I'm saying. Because I'm a long-time holder. But if you're thinking about selling right now, it's like, unless you need it, I mean, this is like the worst time to sell. So, with the infrastructure and the stuff that's in place right now, there's no mechanical regulatory information that's available right now publicly that would discern to say that everything was going to go to zero and it's all worthless. There's way too much infrastructure getting put into place. There's way too much instrumentation in play, coders, investors, banks, people that have bought in that are driving various actions here. So, for the people that are thinking about, just exiting, maybe you're exiting when you were at 3K and you're still taking half. Nobody's going to fault you for that, but be cautious of what's happening here. So I don't know if that was a long way to say that, if you're mining and you're still profitable via power, you should hedge some of that bet. There's so much to mine right now, currency-wise, that's way low right now, and even buy. You look at all the dips. I mean, Bitcoin right now is 60%. The thing that you don't want to get caught in is if Bitcoin snaps back to 17, 18 and the alts don't follow suit, and you invested a lot of your current Bitcoin into alts, there's some risk here, because we kind of saw that 6 months ago, and that's one of the risks right now that I would say out there. If you're kind of hedging all your Bitcoin into other things, thinking you're going to gain a quick lift in something, that there is a possibility for that for sure, and nobody knows. There's no magic 8-ball here. The last pattern I've seen like this in crypto, being in crypto for a while, since 2011, is this exact kind of curve where you have a majority, you have Bitcoin grow rapid after a big dip like this, and the alts don't necessarily follow suit. If you're heavy in Bitcoin, then you get alts at a very good discount. And then when the alts bounce, you kind of get the double-double, right? So there's, is that what the big market players are going to do? That's a good question. Are the alts going to bounce before Bitcoin, and that gives you an opportunity at Bitcoin? It's a tough call. If any alt currency has that chance, it'd be Ethereum, just because it hasn't pulled back as hard, and if it snaps back to close to its all-time high before Bitcoin makes its recovery, then Ethereum has the best chance to give you the double-double. ETH's about to drop below 600. Again, I think it's good buying opportunities personally. And like I've told people, just dollar increment average it right now. If you would have been doing $50, $100 every week for the past like 6 weeks, you're gonna do pretty well. Is people trolling me?
Yes.
Yes.
Go to Discord. You have
Discord?
on there?
Yeah, I think so. Let's do bits. Be tripping. I got Miss BBT making fun of me over here in the background. I think people are. Oh, I'm not coming in as myself on here. I can't see it. You can tweet it to me.
It's too much work.
Can you please post a BIOS for the Vlog 60 GPU build? Yeah, Sub-Zero. That is the Sapphire Nitros, I think. And yes, I think we have finally found a good BIOS for that, for the two different BIOSes. Did you talk about Richard Hart's meltdown? I haven't really watched much of Richard. I know Richard was he was pretty beaten up about. I think Richard, and I'm not going to put words into his mouth. I haven't really had that much interaction with him recently. I have seen a lot of kind of negative, vibe. Really, I think there was a vision of what Bitcoin was going to do in the fall. And I think Richard was very strong, opinionated on what that vision was going to be, looking at the information that was available at that time. If you put your mindset in the crypto space of where it was at in October, it was prior to the CBOE, it was prior to CFTC, which is the commodity futures trading. You had just the information that they were getting in play. You also had all the FUD with Jamie Dimon saying Bitcoin's a fraud, and then coming back in and buying Bitcoin on the dip. There was a dip there in October. I think it was around October 31st, if anybody remembers that. And then JP Morgan made a book order to purchase, and you had these banks in the back end kind of buying up Bitcoin. There was a lot of momentum to drive up price, and there was a lot of that kind of the buying buying essentially the news and then selling the event, right? So if we look at CBOE, you look at the CFTC, when they came in and they started booking futures prices in January, part of that narrative was they're going to get wrecked because the prices are flying up, right? But the absolute opposite happened. And mind you, in the way the future trading works, you have a maker and a taker, and it's essentially the same market guys, right? Like they're the same, or not the same market guys, but they're both on market players, and those guys are getting burned too that are betting the longs, right? So I think when he saw the manipulation or the potential that it could be manipulated in the way that it is, when you have that coupled with a pretty still unregulated compared to stock regulations, stocks and futures and bonds and all that, and you look at crypto space that now has this amped up new feature from the market, you can see where a lot of gaming is going to happen, or has the potential for a lot of gaming. And personally, I think the SEC calling the CFTC into a hearing, that part of this tone could be, hey, so cool story, you guys can do futures trading, longs and shorts, but given the scenario that you can have people really gaming it because there's not a lot of regulation for insider and all that kind of trading, what's the net effect here? And isn't more regulation now going to come out of at least that activity if they're registered traders for the CFTC and the CBOE, right? So if they're going to have to play on a different set of rule sets because of the hearing, because the SEC says, I'm not really feeling this, you guys are just milking up, all these people that are interested in the space and are buying in on Coinbase and literally buying cryptocurrency, and then you guys are just smoking it on the gaming side because you guys are not regulated, then essentially the net effect is you have a whole bunch of investors all around the world buying into cryptocurrency because they're part of that. Part of it's FOMO, and part of it's also just people believe in this being the future from an exchange and from a new technology and investing in the future, not just the utility of Bitcoin and any of the cryptocurrencies. You also have this situation where you have a lot of investors investing, and then you have market people doing what market people do and trying to make money. And if it's not in some kind of structured infrastructure in a way that can take advantage, and then there's some reports of that's kind of getting caught up, then you're going to have stuff like the SEC pulling people into fucking hearings and going, hey, what's going on here? And part of this tonal thing that I'm expecting to come out of this hearing, and I think any news is going to be good news, even if it's saying, hey, there's going to be more regulation, at least from the activity that the CFTC and the CBOE and the folks there are doing. I think that activity is going to be a net good effect in the long run, especially if it's starting to say, hey, you're going to peel some of this back. We're going to make sure you guys can't invest in certain ICOs because there's just too much fraud that can happen with it. I think any of the activity that comes out of there is going to be good. And I just don't see, at least from what I've witnessed and what I've been around, especially in the last couple of weeks with being at the two major events, and pretty much the two biggest events in the U.S. related around the technology, around cryptocurrency in general, being the North American Bitcoin Conference and being the CES 2018. I have not seen anything really negative, from a structure, infrastructure, investment, any of that into the space. So I think the regulatory piece comes through in this hearing. Hopefully that hearing is tomorrow and can kind of get some kind of at least feedback. Again, it's a hearing. If you get pulled into a hearing, it isn't that they're going to enact laws there. They're going to set tone. They're going to ask questions. They're going to set precedents of what they're going to be looking for in the next meeting or whatever else, right? You kind of come in with a punch list. Here's a course of actions. We call them COAs, right? Analysis of alternatives. Those kind of things are going to occur in a hearing, right? Or you might just have people yelling at each other, and from both sides. But that tone, I think, sets a lot for at least the crypto space, and then maybe that sets course of maybe a quick market return from that. I don't think any one event in the space in general is going to predicate a change in market dynamics, because honey badger don't care, right? I mean, the crypto space in general, you could have good news and it could crash. You could have bad news and it goes up. I mean, look at when the exchanges in Japan were just hacked. Mind you, some of this might be some of that the after effect, but those few days after, like Neo and all this stuff, that NIM, all that stuff was up, right? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, this stuff was just hacked for 500 million and the price goes up. I mean, that doesn't make no sense. There should be an immediate, knee jerk. I mean, the market's knee jerk on things. Like if something gets locked up in, New Orleans, that, there's a bad storm that comes through, and then the oil prices go up, right? I mean, there's usually a cause and effect for a lot of that kind of stuff. It doesn't really happen that way. There's so many non-correlated things that happen in crypto. So, but I think that the overall consensus, if you have a set of uncertainties, like a hearing, like Tether, are they just printing money officially, and we can get some information there, you're going to get an overwhelmingly positive effect that I think that would then corrects the market. I'm looking at some of it's all a scam, sir. Well, if it's a scam, it's been lasting for 9 years, brother. And I mean, people that really harbor on Bitcoin are like, oh, it's a Ponzi. Ponzi's owe you something. Bitcoin doesn't owe you anything. None of the space owes you anything. You can walk away and you can cash out what you have right away. If you have your coins and you have them on an exchange, you can hit the cash button and walk, right? So it's entities that create shells that do stuff with your coins, a whole different story. If you own your currency, you have it in your hand, you can do stuff with it. You have that immediate utility of use, right? So cryptocurrency in general's base use case is it's one of its key feature sets is the ability to move it and to you control it, and that is transcendent. It's been transcendent for 9 years. And people have looked and augmented that into other new feature sets. Automation with smart contracts. You're going to have a lot of other things, such as the next level of automation of smart contracts is machine deep learning, AI. All these kind of things will start to play into at least the capture of events on a blockchain, augmented with parallel computing and all these other things that come along with the technology advancing. Trump coin for the win. Samsung coming into the picture goes a long way for miners, I think, too. I mean, I don't look at Samsung coming into the mining space as like this big thing for miners more than it does for an industry validation of the activity of proof of work mining. You have one of the largest companies in the world doing this. So that starts to stamp that approval on, proof of work. They've done at least enough due diligence to enter the space. That's a big deal. The price is literally falling during this stream. Hey, great buying opportunity, guys. I just went down, so it was about 7,900, I think, at the start of the day, and it fell to about 6,900. I think so. It's about 6,300.
Do you have Raven Coin on the multi-miner?
I haven't released the latest version of Multi-Miner. It will be part of the next release. I was actually waiting for the AMD version to come out, and it still hasn't came out. So it looks like we're just going to have the NVIDIA version on it. And there is a big, for any SpaceX, big SpaceX launch tomorrow. You guys should watch it. It's, I think, at 1:30, Eastern time. And that is for Falcon Heavy. If it actually functions and actually lands all 3 of those rockets, that's like some next level stuff. So 6,200, huh? It's a good price, guys.
Do you foresee at any time a different coin taking the lead over Bitcoin?
Do I foresee another coin taken? I think in the long term it's a possibility. I think a few things will take place, though. So, I mean, it all comes down to, nobody knows, first off, but if you look at eventually, if cryptocurrency does fill a void in a asset class space, like truly becomes its own asset class with not ETNs, God, I can't even think of what I'm talking about right now. If you have it in from a retirement structures that get in place, and it becomes a part of a hedge. So you can have gold, you can have other assets, stocks, bonds, and crypto becomes one, and you have a hedge of cryptos. Bitcoin is going to be center point of that. If a lot of money comes into that due to the limited supply compared to other cryptocurrencies, and because of the amount per coin that it's going to be, I believe that Bitcoin will be always on the top. Will it ever flip places? There's a good chance that it will, for a couple different reasons, but one of them not limited to that. If a lot more people believe in what Ethereum's doing, and Ethereum gets through its Casper release without too many hiccups, and people believe into the proof of stake, which I still think they have a lot to fix with that, but it really gets through some of those larger technical hurdles, and you have the first sets of implementations that work at scale and at global, then I think a platform-based coin has more potential to exceed Bitcoin. But there's a lot of buts in there. Like, they have to fix certain things. It has to be autonomously fixed in feature sets that are very foolproof on the coding, and function like Bitcoin. I mean, have a high level of complexity, but yet function as smooth as, if I move a cryptocurrency from point to point, it just functions. Miners validate it and it moves every time like clockwork. Even if it's delayed because of a mempool and the blocks are too small, it still completes. It still finishes. If you have that level of reliability with a platform coin, eventually, if it's EOS, if it's Ethereum, it has potential to market cap it for sure. There's a coin worth more than BTC. Yes, nice trade, I agree. ETH is always subject to attack. All of them are actually subject to attack. Ethereum's attack surface is much larger. So when people look at what's the OPSEC, what's its operational security, what's its attack surface, Ethereum has anything with more complexity has a lot more attack vectors. So thereby it has a lot more risk if something's going to occur with it.
You think with the price and ETH dropping, the difficulty would ever go back down?
No, this is a weird market dynamic that happens in mining, and it happened in 2013 and 2014 when the prices really went down, the difficulty really didn't go down. And it's because of a couple different things. It's because of the market cycles, the way the hardware cycle works too. So if you look in 2014, prices really collapsed down, right? You had Mt. Gox, you had all this stuff that happened. Bitcoin came crashing down almost 90%. You had this massive drop in everything. You had the Silk Road get shut down, you had all this negative news. Not saying the Silk Road was a good thing, but there was a counterparty purchasing of the coins at the time because there wasn't a lot of business cases for it at the time. So you have all this negative thing, but if you look at the hash rate growth, it continued to go up because you still had a lot of ASIC miners coming online. You had those things run in like 6-month cycles. They start production. Like Samsung right now announced that they're building this stuff. There's no doubt that they're pressing those things, and they're going to keep pressing on. They don't look at the price, guys. I'm telling you, this is not the way that works. I understand what people are like, oh, they're looking at the price, it's going to be horrible. They're looking at the belief that blockchain cryptocurrency technology is going to continue and transcend. That transcendence is what gives what they're focused on. They're not looking at the daily market price. They're genuinely not. It's not a stock to them. That is a derivative price. That's like oil. Like, you're not going to predicate, I'm going to go build a whole bunch of stuff because of the price of oil. I mean, they were still making SUVs, and they continued to make SUVs when oil was at its highest price because Ford and all these companies weren't looking at the price of oil at the time, right? They're looking at a product and a feature set, and that's what people are doing. They're looking at products and feature sets, and they're going to believe that that product and the feature set is going to drive demand, which in a limited supply economy, i.e. Bitcoin being limited, is going to drive price anyways. It's an effect. The price is an effect of those things, right? It's not the driver of those things. So when you look at big companies doing that kind of stuff, they're looking at the technology. They're looking at proof of work as being the solid, factor that it is. They're not going proof of stake. They're going proof of work. They're building hardware into proof of work because nothing right now is as good as proof of work. It still has not exceeded it. And for the people that are looking for the power savings, I agree. It sucks that it has to use a lot of power, but it's also creating this counter economy for it because it costs resources. And then because it's hard for people to come into the space, that's why Bitcoin is so hard to attack directly. No state, government, anybody can go out unless they're going to go out and build a whole bunch of fabrication plants to start inventing their own memory types with the best engineers in the world that are already working for these companies. It makes Bitcoin super hard to attack, like impossibly hard to attack, right? So proof of work, that's what's the advantage to proof of work, is the more people that do it, the more contributors, the less centralized because you have all these entities coming in at it. So I look at something like the Samsung thing is a good thing. They're going to add more competition into the space. They're going to add more. It's going to add more difficulty, but that the price has an effect to that. So yeah, and I wish there was a situation where if the price does a pullback, some difficulty falls off. But it seems like there's always more and more that gets piled on. The one thing I would say is that you'll see, like when Ethereum had its sharp difficulty rise that was artificially driven based on Ice Age, you had a transfer of that hash power to other currencies. You had Zcash get a lot bigger of almost all the NVIDIA cards in August and September shifted over to Zcash. Zen, all those different currencies really had to ramp up in difficulty because people repointed those rigs. So, that kind of stuff is what we're talking about here, is that, cryptocurrency mining and all that, even in times right now where there's a huge pullback, you're not super profitable right now. You're probably not even profitable if you have a very bad power situation where you're paying, 15, 20 cents a kilowatt an hour. You're going to be almost not making anything right now at the current prices, given the difficulty is a lot higher than it was, 6 months ago. But it's one of those things that you're still going to get some participation in it. It's not as good, and it's now you're kind of investing from the other side where you're supplying the utility cost, right, as an investment. That's essentially your buy-in right now. What should I be mining with on RX Vega? Well, RX Vegas have the best. They have some of the best output for CryptoNight. So look at CryptoNight algorithms. That's XMR. That's ETN. There's a handful of them. I believe Sumo. There's a few other ones out there that are CryptoNight based.
I think a light pay.
The who?
Light pay.
I haven't seen it. Alan B, greetings from Afghanistan. Enjoying this session. I have not heard about LiPay, but we'll make a note of it. What's with the bunny ears? That's going to be the meme of the night.
I tagged you on a Twitch post going to it.
A Twitch post.
Whatever, stop it.
Twitter?
Twitter, that's what I meant.
Oh my Jesus. Nice one, boys and girls. I love the internets. That's classic. I'm going to leave that up in the corner.
Oh, you gotta fix the chat. Oh no, it's just that one.
That was just that one. Alright guys, we're going to wrap this one up in about 5 minutes here. I'll take some other questions. If you guys have any direct questions, go ahead and fire them now. What's your thoughts on Nice Hash from Devil vs. Angel? It's an option for people. I don't personally use it. They raised their rates a little, so now it's probably not that profitable at all. It's probably one of the easiest barriers of entry for people. Like if you just have a normal gaming rig and you want to throw down some hashes, you're going to be paying an expense for it, but it does give you a chance to get some Bitcoin, some actual Bitcoin. Do you think an ant miner is a good investment? It depends what ant miner.
How long until you think 6 gigabyte GPUs will be obsolete for mining?
6 gigabyte GPUs? Not for a long time. You're still mining on 3 gig actual GPUs. And the Ethereum DAG file right now will hold you through almost the end of, or into the beginning of 2019. So an entire year from right now, 3 gig cards are still good. So 6 gigs is like 2022 for Ethereum. And Ethereum by that time should be full proof of stake. Even if it goes hybrid proof of stake, it's still way, way long. Bitcoin private, that's the Z Classic fork. I mean, you know, that was an epic pump of like epic proportions, that ZCL. I mean, if you had some Z Classic like in October and you got that pump, good for you. I would be weary, guys. There was so epically pumped that that has really nowhere to go but down, I believe, personally. That's just my opinion of it. I'm just telling you, be careful. I don't like anything that pumps that hard that fast. That doesn't have a ton of sound, you know, infrastructure behind it, you know, buy-in from industry, all that kind of stuff.
ETA on the mouse pads and coffee mugs.
Oh yeah, let's do one. Let's do a couple real quick. Let me do a participant run.
Pull from Twitch too.
Yeah. Let's do notepad. Paste. And Twitch.
Did you say let's pull one now?
Let's pull one now?
Isn't that what you said?
Yeah, maybe.
Because they said that's what she said.
That's what she said. So let's do a few giveaways. And the way this works, guys, is I'm going to run this in through a random generator. And oh, you're logged in. Yeah, let's. And I'm going to be using we're getting all the list of everybody. There we go. And the way this works is if you're in both, good for you. Oh my god, that's scrolling forever. 500 plus people. Random name picker. All right. Let's go here. So this will be for a mouse pad. And the first one is, oh, look at that. Devil versus Angel, a lucky guy. I've been seeing him talk. That's for a mouse pad. And we'll do one more mouse pad and then we'll do a cup. Submarinium. You want to write that down, Miss BBT, when it comes up? So we got Devil versus Angel and we got Submarinian. And this last one is for
wait.
Here, I'm flying through them. The last one is going to be for a coffee cup.
Was what?
Marinian. We'll look back up on the.
Submarine. RAMANIAMSS.
And then here's the last one.
Yeah,
Let's go back here.
So those are the mouse tags.
Alan B. I think he was in Afghanistan. That should be a fun one to send.
So Alan's the mug.
Yep, Alan's the mug. We ship these anywhere in the U.S. or anywhere in the world, guys. So there's the 3. We're gonna have these out on our site. I'm gonna try to keep them as cheap as possible. You know, we don't make a lot on the swag, guys. I mean, it's just more for you guys. And what we'll do is, so if you're a winner on there, I need you to email. Huh?
Do you want to do a lanyard? They asked.
A lanyard? They want a lanyard?
Mm-hmm.
We'll do a lanyard.
There's a few.
Lanyard. Here we go. Lanyard. Colt 1911.
See Welty?
Yep. Do one more.
For what?
Mike Baldwin. I wonder if that's his name. And that's a lanyard too. All right, guys, we got them all down. So if you guys are a winner for that, bitsbetrippin@gmail.com. You put in the subject that you're a winner, and then your name in the chat that was called. And then what we'll do is we'll verify that with you guys. Well, I'll ask you to send me like a screenshot or something with you in it. I will tell you what to send back, and then we'll get your address that you want us to ship it to. It could be a P.O. box or wherever. I don't care. It don't have to be your home address or anything like that. And
Will you pick up the mouse pen? They were asking questions if it was softer.
the mouse pad? Yeah. It is. It's soft. It's reflective. Kind of cool. BBT logo. It's got Doge and Ethereum logos and Litecoin logos and cool stuff in it. Preserve the BBT. I wash the cup. Yeah, so I mean we have a box of them, so you'll get a fresh new one. On Twitch. Let me get a single second out of 1070. Yeah. So I mean, if there is a rapid increase on price, maybe we'll get back to giving away GPUs like we used to. So they like the shirt?
They like the shirt. They want some new shirts on the website.
We do need to get some new shirts on the
designs.
website. What about some BBT underwear, no, bro? some clothing line. And I'll ask you guys, BBT. I was thinking about doing like a polo, like a nicer polo that just says BBT, maybe in a smaller logo. We might want to do something like that. BBT socks. Oh, where's those socks at?
Oh.
They're up in the room. We're gonna go check those socks out.
I can't find my backwards.
School night later. I got one more thing to show you guys, and then we're going to wrap it up at an hour and 15. It's an hour and 12 minutes. We got some pretty cool socks from the actual North American Bitcoin Conference. It was pretty cool. Bunny shirts. The bunny ears. That's amazing. The mug is mine. I just got to... BBT Todd's seeing the cups for the first time. I'm sending you one, brother. I can't believe I won something. Check these babies out. We only have a couple of these. But I was thinking about maybe we can get some of these. No, I'm not going to give these away. These are my socks. I'm saying maybe we print some of these. These are Bitcoin. Check those out. Oh, I'm going to totally sport those in one of my suits. Bitcoin socks. BBT shades. I like all the swag. Strap. BBT's beat up. Yeah, there's the cups. They're kind of silvery in look. I mean, This one hasn't been used, but it's pretty cool. Bitcoin sucks.
BBT gloves.
Panties and BBT humble.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, guys. We were reading some of your stuff. Stay tuned. We're gonna watch the SpaceX thing tomorrow. That's gonna be amazing. It's actually like even if you're not into the space stuff, it's like some next level stuff, right? I mean, that's like really cool. I mean, the fact that if you can get that kind of thing going, and then they can really land those 3 rockets at the same time, it's gonna be like. It's one of those things like you watch and you're like, wow, I just watched history. So watch it tomorrow. And it might go boom too. So you might get a fireworks show too. And yes, we did. I mean, there were some people that was asking some questions. We did buy one of the flamethrowers from Elon Musk. So we are going to have.
Before they sold out.
I got one before they sold out. It was right when he said there was about 3K left. I ordered one. We got one confirmed. So we will have a flamethrower in studio at some point here. Anybody that watches the channel, I think I actually stuck that one on the Twitch or on the Twitter here, right there.
Do you need a Discord one for that too? The meme?
Yeah, there's we got it. It was $500. That's us, BBT. We will have that in studio, and of course, we may take that one outside when we go to fire it up.
Hopefully that is outside. Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully that is outside. No indoor flamethrowers. But yes, we got one of those, so that's gonna be kind of cool. What? You got one? It's not in the studio. We're not gonna fire it up in the studio.
Well, and it hasn't been shipped yet.
Yeah, I haven't got a shipping notice on it, but we did order it. So we will have one in there, and you guys will get to see us BBT style. Maybe we'll torch like an old rig or something that's just not working anymore.
Oh, don't encourage him.
Torch a GPU for each stress. Exactly. All right, guys, it was fun. Catch us back. I will post another live stream out there. I got BBT Steve. We're walking through on some of the new video stuff. We're going to try to get some stuff out there. So if you see some of the style and stuff change up, it's Steve kind of getting some of the stuff out. And hang out. Subscribe, like, share. Hopefully this was informative. Let us know right here as we close out if this was good, if you guys like this kind of stuff from our perspective. Again, it's what a lot of people have asked for, so I wanted to try to give you guys a perspective, and we'll keep you guys abreast on what's going on.
Remind them to follow us on Twitch in case there becomes a Twitch exclusive live
Yeah,
stream.
be sure to go out to Twitch. If you don't have a Twitch account, go make one. Just follow us. I don't care if it's just us, but go out there, get your Twitch account, because we're going to start doing some live streams out there. So hopefully it was good. Let us know, and we'll catch you guys later.